Whenever I look up at the night sky, there is just this incredible, undeniable sense of possibility, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You see the faint glow of the Milky Way, the billions of stars, each sun potentially orbited by a dozen worlds, and you realize just how wonderfully vast this cosmic sea is.
It really is. It's hard not to feel a sense of profound optimism.
Exactly.
It is the ultimate expression of possibility, and historically that feeling of wonder has always been, backed up by the math.
Exactly. Our sources today really emphasize this point. Based on the sheer scale of the universe, the billions upon billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars, the mathematical probability suggests the universe shouldn't just support life.
No, not
It
at
should
all.
be absolutely teeming with it. We should be seeing evidence of civilizations far older and, well, far more advanced than us.
We're talking about entities that might have had 1 billion years of technological development on humanity. I mean, it's almost impossible to
In
comprehend.
1 billion years.
The ingredients are available, the physical laws are consistent, and the timescales are just immense. Logically, the expectation is that the universe should be a crowded place.
Right, bustling with intergalactic communication, maybe dotted with engineering projects of cosmic scale.
Dyson spheres, stellar highways, entire galaxies re-engineered, you name it.
But that brings us crashing back down to reality and to the central paradox that has haunted astronomy and physics for, 80 years now?
The Fermi Paradox.
The Fermi Paradox. If life is so common, if the universe is so old, if intelligence is inevitable, then where in the world is everyone?
Why the deafening, persistent silence?
It's the ultimate question.
The silence is the paradox. And our mission today, driven by the sources you provided, is to unpack the most logical yet deeply terrifying solution proposed to resolve it.
The dark forest theory.
Exactly.
Here is where the temperature in the room just drops, because this theory doesn't offer the comforting conclusion that the universe is empty.
No, that would be simple isolation. A lonely thought, but not a scary one.
Instead, it posits a truly chilling alternative to the Great Filter.
Precisely. The core premise, which is elegantly laid out in the analysis we reviewed, is not that the universe is unpopulated.
It's that they are all there, but they are hiding.
They are all there, but they are hiding. We are not searching for life in an empty theater. We are searching in a vast, dark arena where every single occupant, every civilization that has survived long enough to reach maturity, is deliberately holding its breath behind an invisible curtain.
That's a terrifying image.
And we're going to break down the cold logic that forces this extreme survival strategy, dissect the axioms that underpin this galactic paranoia, and look very closely at humanity's potentially fatal mistakes.
The times we've essentially screamed our location into the deadly void.
Yes, so get ready, because this is a deep dive that transitions quickly from that initial cosmic wonder to a feeling of profound, inescapable existential dread.
So let's begin by exploring the incredible power of the metaphor itself. It's a concept credited to the celebrated Chinese science fiction author Liu Cixin.
It is. And the sheer simplicity of the dark forest image immediately reframes the cosmos.
It does. It goes from a frontier of hope to, a hunting ground of inherent threat.
What's fascinating here is how effectively the metaphor strips away all our optimistic assumptions. We, as humans, tend to project our best qualities, our curiosity, our tendency toward collaboration and enlightened reason, onto hypothetical superior alien species.
We imagine them as wise and benevolent.
Liu Cixin replaces that with primal, logical survival instinct. The universe, according to this view, is a dark forest at night.
And what does our civilization, or any civilization with the ability to reach out, become within this setting?
Every single civilization is characterized as an armed hunter stalking through the trees.
An armed hunter.
And the instructions for this hunter are absolute. They must move like a ghost. They must be absolutely quiet.
This isn't optional, is it?
Not at all. This is the primary directive. The reason for this extreme caution is based on the fundamental knowledge held by every participant. They know intrinsically that there are other hunters out there.
I can feel the tone of the conversation shifting already. I mean, we always imagine ourselves as Starfleet explorers with phasers set to stun, but here we are immediately cast as a potential threat.
An armed hunter, silent and paranoid.
It's a universe where trust has been sort of bred out of existence.
It raises the stakes of every encounter to the absolute maximum. So when that silent hunter inevitably encounters another life form, and the sources specifically lay out the 3 key possibilities, The hunter faces an immediate, impossible calculation.
Right, they might find another hunter, equally armed and silent.
Or they might find an angel, a civilization whose intentions truly are benign.
Or a baby.
Or they might find a baby civilization completely unaware of the high-stakes game being played.
And the crucial point is, the hunter can't know which one it is.
The hunter cannot tell if they are good or bad. Intentions are unknowable across cosmic distances and deep time scales.
That uncertainty is everything.
And this unknowability, this fundamental uncertainty, is the key driver of the entire logic. If you are a hunter focused on survival, which we will define as Axiom 1 shortly, and you cannot determine the intent of the entity you just discovered, and you operate under the constraints of finite resources,
What's the only safe move?
what is the safest and most logical path for your own guaranteed survival?
The theory is chillingly clear on this. The safest option is to eliminate them before they eliminate him.
Yeah.
It establishes preemptive violence not as a moral crime or a failure of diplomacy, but as a cold, calculated act of self-preservation.
An act that must be executed the moment discovery occurs.
It's high-stakes game theory applied to the galactic level. The risk of waiting, the risk of taking time to assess whether that newly discovered entity is a threat or whether they will become a threat in 10,000 years.
That risk is simply too high.
When the penalty for being wrong is the total annihilation of your entire species.
You can't take that chance. You must act immediately, because if they are a threat and they are also operating under this logic, they are calculating the exact same thing about you right now.
So the dark forest is terrifying because the silence isn't peaceful, it's tense.
Incredibly tense.
It means the successful civilizations are the quiet ones, the ones that abide by the rules of the hunt.
And any civilization loud enough to be noticed is, by definition,
An anomaly.
or an
Existential threat.
demanding an immediate response. The logical implication is that any successful civilization will invest almost all its energy into two things: remaining undetectable
Stealth.
and developing overwhelming, long-range offensive capabilities.
Swift elimination.
This ensures that if they are discovered, they can retaliate instantly, and if they discover someone else, they can act preemptively without risk to themselves. Let's transition now from the primal metaphor to the underlying mathematical and physical principles.
Okay.
To accept the dark forest theory, one must accept two core logical rules, or axioms, that apply to every rational civilization in the universe.
If the metaphor is the primal fear, these axioms are the physics and the math that justify that fear. Let's start with the first one, the foundational, non-negotiable truth of existence.
Axiom 1, the prime directive. And no, not the Star Trek one.
A very different one, I take it.
Survival is the absolute, primary, and ultimate goal of any civilization. We have to establish this universality. It doesn't matter if the civilization is made of silicon or carbon, if it communicates telepathically or by radio, or if it has solved hunger on its home planet.
If it doesn't prioritize survival, it dies out.
If a civilization does not prioritize its own survival above all other considerations, it will simply fail to exist over cosmic timescales.
That makes perfect evolutionary sense. Any philosophical framework or moral code that compromises survival will be naturally selected out of the galactic playing field.
Exactly.
So the only ones left are the ones whose primary overriding function is self-preservation.
Correct. We start with the iron law. We must survive. Now, Axiom 2 introduces the fundamental cosmic conflict, and this is the one we must explore in detail, as it is often oversimplified.
Okay.
Axiom 2 is split into two parts that generate an inherent antagonism. The first part is dynamic. Civilization continuously grows and expands.
And this isn't just population, is it?
No, it's technological acceleration, population increase, and critically, an exponential increase in resource demands.
I can see how that maps onto human experience. We never truly reach technological stasis. Even if we solve food or energy scarcity locally,
Right.
we immediately divert that surplus into new research, new exploration, new super projects.
Stagnation seems antithetical to intelligence itself.
It does.
Absolutely. The sources suggest that true technological acceleration means a civilization's potential demand is always greater than its current consumption. It always needs more energy, more territory, more raw materials, perhaps not locally, but on the galactic scale. This is the endless drive for runaway, self-improvement, and expansion.
And the counterweight. What brings this endless growth into inevitable conflict?
The second part of Axiom 2. Finite resources.
Ah,
The total matter, usable energy, and accessible habitable zones in the universe, while vast, remain fundamentally constant and subject to the laws of thermodynamics. Our sources emphasize that even if a civilization develops incredibly efficient energy capture, like a Dyson sphere,
The number of stars available is still finite.
the number of stars is finite. The quantity of specific rare isotopes required for advanced computing or propulsion is finite. Habitable planets are finite.
So we're not just talking about water and basic elements. We're talking about highly specific, strategically valuable resources that exist in limited supply within a localized sector of the galaxy.
Precisely. Even in a seemingly infinite universe, the accessible resources needed for infinite technological expansion are finite and localized.
And if one civilization claims a G-type star system and begins the process of converting it into a resource engine,
That star system is permanently unavailable to every other civilization.
okay, let's connect those two immense forces. We have an infinite accelerating drive toward growth, expansion, and resource consumption. That's the nature of advanced life.
And we have an immutable static limit on the total available energy and matter that can sustain that growth. That's the law of the cosmos.
And when you put them together,
When you synthesize the two axioms, the dark forest outcome is derived. Infinite growth plus finite resources, eternal war.
that equation is deeply sobering. It suggests that conflict isn't based on political ideology or historical grievance. It is a thermodynamic necessity.
It's physics.
But here's the challenge an optimist would raise. Couldn't a sufficiently advanced society reach a state of post-scarcity? Couldn't they solve the energy problem with, say, zero-point energy or limitless fusion, thus eliminating the resource conflict?
That is the crucial philosophical counterargument that the dark forest logic immediately dismisses. Even if a civilization achieves local post-scarcity, they still cannot circumvent the ultimate physical constraint, matter. To build more processing power, to expand into new systems, to launch colonization fleets, you require physical matter, and that matter is finite and must be claimed.
And to get to that level of technology in the first place.
Furthermore, achieving that high technological state of post-scarcity often requires the consumption of vast stellar-scale resources initially, making that civilization an even greater threat to others.
So rather than making them benevolent, reaching true advancement just solidifies their status as an ultimate resource competitor.
Precisely. It creates an absolute zero-sum game over cosmic timescales. Today, there might be a vast gap between two growing powers, but both powers are on an exponential trajectory.
And those lines have to cross.
Because of Axiom 2, those trajectories must intersect, and when they do, the conflict over critical resources is absolute. Any gain for one is an inevitable existential loss for the other.
And the scary part is that interstellar distance and the speed of light actually make this problem worse, don't they?
They exacerbate it. Civilization A knows it will eventually need the raw materials in the nebula near Civilization B. Civilization B knows A is growing. Since they cannot stop growing, and the universe cannot provide unlimited resources, they must anticipate the future conflict.
And that anticipation is the key to the preemptive strike.
It is. If you know with mathematical certainty that your growth trajectory will eventually intersect with another growing power's trajectory, and that intersection leads to guaranteed existential conflict,
Then the optimal rational move is to solve that future conflict today.
while the other party is weaker or less prepared, it is the ultimate insurance policy for self-preservation, justified by physics itself.
If the axioms define the physical necessity of conflict, then this chain of suspicion. This defines the psychological, and I would argue, the deeply tragic necessity of preemptive strikes.
It really is.
This is where the hope for diplomacy and peace, which we might value so highly, completely disintegrates into paranoid logic.
The chain of suspicion paralyzes any attempt at peaceful coexistence because the constraints of the universe make trust impossible. Let's take the ideal first contact scenario. Two civilizations, A and B, meet across a distance of, say, 50 light years.
Okay.
They exchange messages, perhaps declaring peace, sharing science, even expressing mutual admiration.
Sounds like a textbook hopeful encounter. Star Trek episode. But our sources suggest this optimism is immediately undercut by three factors related to distance and time. Let's start with the most obvious one. How can A trust B's sincerity?
Factor one is the unknowability of present intent. Civilization A cannot know B's true present motivations. B could be lying,
A deception phase.
engaging in a deception phase, merely pretending to be peaceful long enough to gather intelligence, pinpoint A's location, and build overwhelming technological superiority. Given the existential stakes, A must assume B is lying, or at least operating on caution.
But even if B is completely, genuinely peaceful right now, that sincerity is perishable. That brings us to the deep timescale factor.
Factor 2. The mutability of future intent. A peaceful civilization today might face internal collapse, unforeseen environmental disaster, or resource depletion.
Like their stars starting to die.
A G-type star beginning its descent into a red giant, or the migration of a massive black hole toward their sector. These crises, centuries or millennia away, would fundamentally alter their moral code, transforming them from a peaceful angel into a desperate, aggressive expansionist driven purely by Axiom 1.
So even if the current regime on planet B is the galactic equivalent of the Quakers, Civilization A has to calculate that across the thousands of years it takes for light-speed messages to confirm B's status, B's government or resource situation could change dramatically.
Turning them into an enemy seeking A's territory. You cannot guarantee the stability or morality of an alien entity over vast timescales.
It's impossible.
Exactly. And the third factor is technological uncertainty, or what we might call technological escalation.
So the baby civilization problem.
Right. A civilization that appears weaker or less advanced today might be on the cusp of a revolutionary technological leap. Perhaps solving FTL travel or developing a weapon of mass destruction that could destroy stars. If Civilization A waits 500 years, B might become the superior power.
A cannot risk that flip.
Cannot. And crucially, the logic applies in reverse, creating the chain.
B knows A is calculating all of this.
Of course. B must assume A is only waiting for the moment. A becomes technologically superior to strike or is just waiting for B to show a witness.
This creates the chain of suspicion.
A suspects B, and B knows A suspects them. B must therefore calculate that A is likely to strike first to preempt B's potential future growth.
So if B wants to survive,
If B wants to survive, B must conclude that the only rational response to A's probable attack is to attack even sooner. The suspicion reinforces itself until the only logical endpoint is immediate, decisive violence.
it is truly a cosmic poker game where the stakes are absolute and the rules force you to go all in immediately.
And there's only one winning move.
The only move that guarantees your own survival is to shoot first.
When the cost of a mistake is total annihilation, you cannot afford any risk. Any movement, any signal, any sign of advancing technology in a newly discovered neighbor is interpreted as a precursor to aggression.
So you have to act.
Therefore, the action must be silent, efficient, and irreversible.
We have to imagine that moment of chilling realization. The silence of the forest is total, profound. Then, that instantaneous, undetectable strike.
A single, massive kinetic weapon, a relativistic kill vehicle traveling at near light speed.
A cosmic gunshot.
The silence must be broken only by the instant elimination of the newly discovered life form. The ability to destroy from incredible distances becomes the ultimate survival characteristic.
Why would you ever talk?
Why would you risk a diplomatic journey or a long-distance conversation that only provides the enemy with information about your existence and your capabilities?
You wouldn't.
Destruction is the simplest, most efficient, and most reliable form of self-preservation in this context. It eliminates the risk inherent in the chain of suspicion entirely.
This logic, while sound in the terrifying context of the dark forest, forces us to confront the undeniable recklessness of humanity.
It really does.
If the universe truly operates under these ironclad axioms, then the things we once celebrated as our most hopeful achievements in communication are, in fact, humanity's fatal errors.
We have spent a century defining ourselves by the opposite of the dark forest rule.
Completely the opposite.
We believe in transparency, reaching out and signaling our presence, convinced that any advanced life must be benevolent. Our sources put our mistake in historical context. Humanity has been screaming into the void for 100 years.
100 years. That means a sphere of broadcasted electromagnetic radiation carrying evidence of our existence is now 100 light years wide and is expanding constantly.
And what did we send out?
Not just a generic beacon, we send out comprehensive data on our culture, our technology, and our conflicts.
Consider the earliest, most powerful transmissions: military radar, early television broadcasts, the powerful carrier waves of global shortwave radio.
What were they carrying?
These signals, propagating at the speed of light, contain a complete, messy, often violent record of our culture. We transmitted everything from I Love Lucy
Showing a technologically dependent suburban lifestyle?
to major historical events, including global conflicts and, yes, the speeches of destructive figures like Hitler.
My God. So if the dark forest theory holds true, every one of those radio transmissions that slips past our atmosphere is a profound vulnerability report.
Exactly. It doesn't just reveal our location. It reveals our technological level, our internal divisions, and crucially, our highly volatile, aggressive history.
We're basically telling them that we're a potential threat.
This record perfectly confirms the inherent volatility that fuels the chain of suspicion. We are telling them that we are a powerful, growing, yet fundamentally conflicted and potentially aggressive species.
And then we have this specific, critical error embodied by the Voyager and Pioneer probes launched in the 1970s.
These were intended as interstellar time capsules, symbols of our optimism, carrying the golden record and plaques detailing life on Earth.
And this was the critical mistake. We didn't just send out a message, we sent out probes that included detailed, explicit maps to Earth.
Yes. The Pioneer plaques and the Voyager records included diagrams showing our position relative to 14 pulsars, which allows for extremely accurate three-dimensional location mapping.
We essentially mailed our home address to potentially hostile neighbors, complete with pictures of our technological level and biological structure.
The chilling question the theory forces us to confront is whether these historical achievements, symbols of human scientific ambition, are actually detailed blueprints for our destruction.
We celebrated them as acts of hope, but under the cold calculation of dark forest logic, they are acts of unforgivable cosmic negligence.
They are.
The analogy our sources use to summarize this recklessness is just so potent. We are like a child lighting a fire in a dark forest full of wolves.
A child sees warmth and light. A hunter sees an easy target. The signal we sent out is not a friendly greeting. It is an advertisement of vulnerability and a potential resource stockpile.
We have effectively shouted, "Here we are," to the predators.
Yes, we have.
This profound fear of contact isn't exclusive to the dark forest fiction, is it? We have to integrate the serious, scientifically grounded warning from the late physicist Stephen Hawking.
We do. He advised explicitly against trying to contact aliens.
For these very reasons.
Hawking's concern provided a brutal resource-based motivation that aligns perfectly with Axiom 2. He famously compared a meeting between an advanced alien race and humanity to the Native Americans meeting Columbus.
That is a harsh analogy, but historically instructive. Our source material underscores that this encounter did not end well for the Native Americans.
Not at all. It was an encounter between two vastly different technological levels, where the superior power, driven by resource acquisition and expansion, inadvertently or deliberately caused the devastation of the less advanced culture.
Through exploitation and disease.
And the technological disparity in a cosmic context is infinitely greater. Columbus traveled across an ocean for gold and land.
An interstellar civilization would be traveling for much more.
An interstellar civilization driven by the axiom of infinite growth would not be traveling between stars for companionship. If they have the technology for true interstellar capability, they have immense resource demands. As Hawking suggested, if they arrive, they are likely looking for resources, not friends.
They'd see Earth as just a stockpile.
They view planets not as homes to be shared, but as resource stockpiles, and any life already inhabiting that stockpile is merely an obstacle to be efficiently cleared to make way for their Dyson sphere or their galactic factory.
So our noisy existence, combined with the detailed map we sent out, doesn't just risk attracting attention. It risks attracting attention from a desperate, technologically superior civilization, driven by the iron law of survival and finite resources.
And based on the historical precedent and the cold logic of the axioms, the outcome for the weaker party is almost certainly predetermined to be catastrophic. This meticulous unpacking of the logic brings us back full circle to the greatest mystery of the cosmos, the Fermi Paradox.
It does.
But we now interpret that silence through a lens of extreme existential dread, understanding that the absence of noise is not the absence of life.
The core conclusion of the sources is that the silence of the universe is not because it is empty. That would be the hopeful only answer. The silence is the sound of extreme caution.
It's the sound of an entire galaxy holding its collective breath. It is the sound of galactic conformity to the survival imperative.
The civilizations that lasted.
The civilizations that have lasted long enough to reach advanced status, the ones that have survived billions of years, are the ones who internalize the lessons of the dark forest.
They understood the chain of suspicion and the inevitability of the zero-sum conflict over resources.
In short, the smart civilizations are keeping their mouths shut to survive.
They're the quiet ones.
They are investing heavily in stealth, moving like ghosts, minimizing their radio signature, and developing technologies that make them invisible to younger, noisier civilizations like ours.
They are the ultimate cosmic minimalists, technologically advanced precisely because they mastered the art of being undetected.
And that, in turn, defines the disturbing anomaly that is humanity. If every successful surviving civilization is silent, we are the deviation.
We are the only civilization loudly advertising our location, our technological level, and our inherent volatility.
We are the only noisy idiots in the room.
It's the ultimate irony. We assume that to be advanced meant to be enlightened,
And the dark forest suggests that only the paranoid survive.
and that morality is a vulnerability that advanced civilizations simply cannot afford because it jeopardizes the primary axiom, survival.
The theory leaves us with a high-tension warning. If the universe is a forest full of armed, paranoid hunters, and we are the only civilization loudly calling attention to our existence by lighting a massive radio fire,
Then, soon, something might hear us.
yes,
And if they hear us, we know the reaction, based on the axioms, won't be a diplomatic greeting.
it will be an immediate, high-efficiency, undetectable strike designed to remove a future resource competitor before it can develop into a threat.
The overwhelming silence that we experience is the absence of noise, not the absence of life. It's the sound of millions of successful, advanced civilizations holding their breath, waiting for the child's fire to go out.
What makes the dark forest theory so compelling and so horrifying is how completely it inverts our entire approach to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
It really does. For decades, the goal was to find a signal.
The theory suggests the only signal we should truly fear is the one that finds us. We were not looking for friends. We were painting a target on our back.
And the speed of light only ensures the attack will arrive long after the message announcing our location has been received.
There's no warning.
It forces you to rethink the true purpose of the silence. We've established that successful civilizations are silent because they are hiding from the predators. This assumes the predators are still out there, stalking.
But there's an alternative interpretation to the extreme quietude of our immediate corner of the galaxy.
Wow.
And it is arguably the most unsettling thought the theory provokes. If we accept the logic of the dark forest, where elimination is the most efficient survival strategy, we must confront the possibility that the complete, persistent silence across vast sectors of the cosmos, including our own relatively quiet neighborhood, is not due to life hiding.
You're saying that the silence isn't the sound of caution, but the sound of something completed.
Exactly. The final chilling implication is this. Maybe the reason we haven't heard anything is because the predators already cleared out this part of the forest.
And we're less.
We are simply the small, newly germinated sapling growing in a recently extinguished clearing, unaware of the efficiency of the previous hunt.
That is truly a deeply unsettling place to conclude this deep dive. We started with the mathematical certainty that the universe should be full of lice, and we have ended with the cold, logical conclusion that the only way for advanced life to survive that reality is through absolute silence and preemptive elimination.
We have thoroughly explored the axiomatic necessity of conflict, the combination of infinite growth and finite resources leading to eternal war, and the chain of suspicion that makes peace mathematically impossible across the required cosmic scales and timeframes.
And we had to soberly confront the profound recklessness of our own actions, the 100 years of radio transmissions that detailed maps to Earth on the Voyager probes,
and the chilling historical wisdom contained within Stephen Hawking's warning against repeating the disastrous encounter between two vastly different technological cultures.
The conclusion is just so stark. The silence is not comforting or mysterious. It is a sign of ultimate fear and a necessary survival strategy.
The absence of evidence for aliens might actually be the most compelling evidence of their successful strategic fear, and perhaps the historical evidence of their elimination of every civilization that failed to be quiet.
To you, the learner who brought us this fascinating, terrifying set of sources, thank you for asking us to take this deep dive. It forces us to entirely recalibrate our view of existence and to reconsider whether the greatest cosmic discovery we can make is simply the knowledge that we are still alive and, for now, unnoticed.
As you look up at the night sky, I encourage you to seriously mull over this concept. If we are indeed the only noisy civilization and the other successful life forms are silent hunters, how long can our noise last before someone decides it's time to efficiently extinguish the fire?
We'll see you next time for the next deep dive. Stay curious and maybe keep the volume down.